Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Rigor Mortis Paranormal. Tonight, at the request of our listeners, we will be sharing our personal ghost stories. So sit back, grab a cool one, and enjoy the next hour. I'm David, this is Robert and Jasmine.
Hello, hello.
Hey guys.
Alright, so we got personal stories.
Yes, this is actually going to be a pretty cool one. That we got them requested is even better. And the ones we picked out today are pretty good. We also have UFO stories.
Hope you guys like UFOs.
What else do we have? I know we had dad stories.
Yeah, we got some from Dad. And I've got a personal one where some baby was crying in the back of a shed.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I remember that back in the Brownfield days, man.
Yeah, working in the fields.
Yes. Man, what were we like? There should have been a long...
I think there was.
You were like 4, I was like 5.
I remember this.
These big ass salons. What did they say? They wanted to get jackets called the Brownfield Whole Hands.
Yeah. And there was like 30 of us living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Oh man, yeah, wall to wall. We had the like Legos laying down in the...
Yeah, to try and fit.
Yeah, to fit. No, put your foot like
Tetris?
Yeah. I do remember the minimum wage at that time was $2 an hour.
Yes.
And do you remember what we got paid because we were minors?
Oh.
We got $1 an hour.
Yeah.
And I remember that because me and Andrew came out on a radio station. We went to the Piggly Wiggly, and they were out there. They had a radio announcer guy out there, and he's like, "Hey, where are you kids from?" Thinking he was gonna catch some good news from some little kids, and we're like,
You're depressing.
"Oh, we came from San Antonio. We're here working in the fields, and we know most people get $2 an hour, but since we're kids, we only get $1 an hour." You see the guy trying to shoo us away all of a sudden.
So, yeah, they make us wear these leashes. And the guy touches us in our naughty spot.
It was that was crazy.
Man, I do remember that. Man, walking anywhere from like a quarter mile to half a mile down one row. We used to chop the weeds around the cotton.
So the cotton can grow. Yeah.
Yes, and then we'd come back. And then you know what was weird about that? I remember one time I was over there chopping the cotton. We call it chopping cotton. You can't chop the cotton because you get fired. And which I have been fired. I remember that guy saying something. The goddamn kid, he's chopping everything but the goddamn weeds, man. Mom was pissed, man. She was like, okay, come. However much money you made, that's gonna be your school clothes. I had like 2 pair of pants for the whole year. Anyway, but man, if you had to use the restroom,
You're in trouble, yeah.
and not only that, because there were venomous snakes out there. I remember that one time when I was all cool, a copperhead, his head like, hey, who's there? And the lady next to me, she was like Wonder Woman, man. As soon as he put his head on, the head goes flying up, man. She was an ace. And it just, I was like, ah! It was not uncommon to see when you were on your way back, people that were ahead. They were sitting down, kind of taking the shit. They were going, man, you're gonna hear this on every episode. But really, it is, man. You're all cool and you're walking by. You see this 300-pound man just like, oh, don't pay no mind to me. How can I not, man?
That's right. And the other thing, we never had pockets, did we?
Oh, God. I remember this. First of all, we were already fucking sleepy and shit. We'd have to wake up at the crack, man. I mean, like at 5. And then, God bless Mom, because she always tried to make it worth our while. When we stopped at the store, she'd be buying cakes and, like, goodies for us so we could be in a good mood. But it was still rough because we'd have to wake up and you see those drunk guys in the holding tanks and their heads are just going down to their knees. And then they snap out of it and their head shoots back up. That was all of us in the back of a wooden camper. Man, it was like it looked like the pistons in the car. Anyway, God, I lost track. Anyway, the lady, when she had to use the restroom, she'd go behind us and like grab us and turn us around. She was strong, abnormally strong, man. She would just turn us around. We're like, ah! And all we feel is like her grab her, put her hands in our back pocket, just rip them off.
Oh my God.
There's no toilet paper out there, so she was heading out, man. All our pants, man. We went back to San Antonio, man, just trying to put our money somewhere.
Why didn't y'all take any toilet paper out there with y'all?
You know what? That's weird.
No, that's a good question.
But like, because then you'd have to carry it.
Share it with everybody?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. I thought about that.
Well, the thing is, some of these things, like you said, were half a mile long, so you're half a mile out, and you gotta go. So
And
know,
then
if you're
it's
not
just like
carrying the
you
roll
see her
with
coming, you just start running. Come here, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the house. There was a haunted house, and that's one, like you said, we're all staying in, and that's the one that you were talking about.
Yeah, that's the one.
We went through a tornado there, and you know what? Other people had paranormal occurrences happening there also. And they were supposedly bad dreams, everything, sleep paralysis, everything else that we had under the sun. And then what you and Andrew heard, man, back then. And Andrew was a friend of the family, so we knew the family for years and years. But you know what, David? I'm getting ahead of myself, man. So
Oh, that's all right. That's good. Yeah, you know what? Let's get into the UFO stories.
Jazz, why don't we go ahead and start with yours? This is a lot better, I think.
Hey, I get a good one. It's kind of trippy, so.
No pun intended, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of trippy. I was completely sober, by the way. In case nobody. But,
So it's gotta be real.
yeah, it's gotta be. This actually started, I was like in 11th grade, and my boyfriend, well, the guy that I was dating, he would always have like a.
Man, I'm sorry, guys. Go ahead. I have a very squeaky chair, and I feel. I'm like about 400 pounds of just fatness, and I'm sitting on like a little kid's chair, and it's just like yelling for help. That's what you hear, all those squeaking. I'm sorry, Jazzy. Go ahead. Get back into your story there.
Okay.
I'm comfy. I'm not
Just stay
no more.
still. Alright. Okay, so the guy I was dating at the time, we would go to his house a lot. A lot of people from school would meet up, have fight night type of thing, boxing. He was living at the end of a cul-de-sac. So we ended up going to go meet the people at the corner store that was right next to them. So we drove to meet them, came back to the house. We stopped at the very beginning of the cul-de-sac before going in.
Day or night?
It was nighttime.
Okay.
It was nighttime. We were like, we were telling them, like, you go this way, you just got to turn down here. I don't know why we stopped. I guess we were waiting for them to catch up. But when we were stopped, I looked up into the sky and I noticed, to me at the time, the second I saw it, it looked like a big flaming ball of fire. My first thought was, a part of an airplane exploded or something like that.
So was that big?
It was pretty big. It was like a big ball of fire coming down. But I don't know, maybe the light was just so bright that's what I thought was the fire. So we stopped and the car pulled up beside us, the people that were supposed to go to the house to fight. Well, we were like, oh, look, what is that? And so we all got kind of scared. And anyways, we ended up going down to the house. And we didn't even start what we went there for. We just looked up at the sky for a while, and it was just one big ball coming straight down, so fast it was shooting down, and it stops in its tracks. It just stops, and then it separates into 5 different little balls.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it just keeps, it kind of like floats down in sync, back and forth with each other, just floats down.
What? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and then
Oh, that's a trip, man. That's
yeah, and
crazy,
then it's weird because and then it goes down fast again, and the 5 separate balls stops again, comes back together, goes all the way down, and we were freaking out at the time, like, what is that?
That's crazy.
That's
So we
weird,
tried
man.
recording it while it was going on. Nothing would come out on the camera. It was just so weird.
Wow.
The dogs were going crazy outside, and
Damn, that's crazy.
we ended up looking because right here there's a Randolph, the Air Force.
Force, yeah.
So
Right.
we were like, well, maybe they had a show, but we couldn't find anything like an air show or anything. But to me, like, the weirdest part is like how, I don't know, maybe correct me, I don't know if I'm wrong, but I don't know of any airplanes that could come so
no, there's
fast
nothing that'll
and
do that.
stop.
Like on a
Yeah.
dime
In
like
its
that.
track
No.
and
And then
just hover.
separate into 5 and all. That's I don't believe.
And they
that.
came like really close, like they got back together in the
Oh,
it was
that's
just
a trip,
weird.
man. Shit, that's new.
That
man.
is crazy. That's
I don't
weird.
know if I want to tell mine now, man. That's crazy.
No.
Did you hear anything the next day about that, or
No,
like on the
you know
news or
what?
anything?
No, we didn't. And what's weird is I've never spoke about it to any of the people that were there again. But I feel like if I brought it up, they would, yeah, like of course I remember.
Oh, that's
you know?
something to the trip. That's a.
So
What about that night? Did anybody
They
talk about
just-
it that night at least, or?
no, like it was just kind of like a quick, like, oh my god, but they were just so they were so ready to fight each other. that they didn't care.
It sounded like a fight club, really.
No, it was like a boxing type thing. They would get together to box. I don't know. They were all guys, so they all.
They're gonna see stars for real, but man, that's
Maybe
crazy.
we were all in concussions or something.
I know it.
Honestly, I don't know. I can't top that one because it's kind of boring compared to that one. Back in the 70s, we used to live in the red apartments. We used to call them.
We talked about that in the last
There you
episode.
go. Anyway, there was 3 rooms. The first room was my sister's. It was connected to a hallway, and then the next room was ours.
Right.
And it's weird because it was me, Steve, Mike, and you, 4 folks, and we had the bunk beds, and then it was mom and dad at the last room, and then the restroom. For some reason, we had to wake up early, and Mike was tripping out. Like, he was kneeling on our bed. I could feel him too, and he was looking outside, and he's like, check this out. So I remember waking up, and I was looking, and there was a little, it looked like a metallic ball. It was perfect circle. and it would move in like zigzags, but when it would move, it would leave a trail. The thing is, the way it moved, it didn't move like any other aircraft, especially in this. We're talking about what, 78, 79. Right. So it didn't move in any formation like you said. It zigzag. It would go from one and then go back and shoot high in the air and then come straight down, and then it was just weird. And we were watching it, and when it was stationary, it would fluctuate back and forth. Like if you're turning on a light switch back and forth, that's what it was, just going back and forth like that.
What time of day was this? Or
this was early. Well, we had to wake up for school.
It was like dawn type thing.
Exactly. Everybody was making the argument, well, it could have been a satellite, but this wasn't a satellite. It's weird because it just shot off and left. And me, I was just kind of tripping out like a kid, but Mike was like really tripping out. But I was doing research on other ones. This has nothing to do with nothing. It's actually one of my favorite ones. That's why I thought I'd spit it out, of a UFO. And I was talking earlier about this. It's I don't know if you are with the Aurora, Texas UFO crash incident back in 1897.
Is that when they do the whole like autopsy?
No. Well,
it's
in 1897, but they called it the Great Airship of Aurora. They called them airships, right? But it was what they claimed was a UFO. They had sightings of it like the whole year from 1896 to 1897. Back then, you were still 6 or 7 years away from the Wright brothers flying. So anyway, they had this one that was coming in, and they said it was traveling like at 10 miles an hour or something like that, because it was sputtering. Everybody was looking at it in the whole town. It was a small town, Aurora, Texas. It was by Dallas, somewhere out there, East Texas. It came in and it smashed into his windmill, the judge who owned the land. It just totally annihilated the spaceship, and it messed up his water tank, his windmill, and I think the other thing, his prize flower garden. And this is a judge too. His name is Judge J.S. Proctor, I believe. Well, when that happened, everybody came around, and they said when they got there, they saw the pilot, and they said that he was badly damaged, that it was messed up. But they said that even though he was messed up, they can tell that he wasn't of this earthly origin. And they said when they were looking at him, he was obviously dead also. So these people had all this wreckage, and they had the pilot. So what they did was they buried the pilot. Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to head myself. They were saying what was kind of cool that I thought is they said that they found papers on the pilot that had like hieroglyphics that they still can't decipher to this day. They don't know what it was he had on them.
When did you say this was?
This is 1897. Okay. So what happened was the people buried the pilot, the alien. They gave it a Christian burial, and they
proper burial.
They did. They took time to do that. They
cool.
gathered all of the debris, and they chucked it in a well, a water well, on the same property.
Damn.
And so it like got swept under the rug. Nobody heard about it again until there was like this 91-year-old lady. She was talking about the anniversary and stuff like that, and she was like 15 at the time. This is back in 73. So they started talking about it. I believe, you know how they have the UFO, what is it, MUFON, and all these networks that go out to investigate.
Right.
Well, they had several people go out there, and they found it. They found the tombstone. They found where they believe the alien was. So they were using metal detectors and stuff like that. So, and there was another team that went in there. I think the other team was the International UFO Bureau. What these guys did, they went a step further, and they said, well, we're gonna come in here and mess with these pigs. They're from small town, what can they do?
Right.
So they go in there, said, we started doing legal proceedings to dig up the body. This is what I liked about Aurora. They're like, yeah, no, fuck no, y'all ain't gonna do that. There's no way. They were more about, let them rest. You don't have no right to come. This is our town.
Yeah, it's already been done.
Yeah,
right?
so that's it. So what they did is they took the tombstone off. I think what they did is they reburied the body in a different part of the cemetery.
Wow.
Yeah, these folks got pissed off. That's what made it kind of cool, because Aurora stuck by, even though they didn't know what it was at the time. And this is now, we're talking years later, in 73. Right. They're still saying, you can't come in here and screw with our cemeteries. And how do they say that?
Disturb the peace.
Yeah, you're desecrating, holy ground or whatever. What they did is the Texas judge came out and said, there's no way y'all can go out and do that. You have to have permission by the next of kin, and the next of kin.
How are you
gonna do that? So I'm like thinking, man, that's crazy, man. I can imagine those guys, like, Aurora, the International UFO Bureau. They're acting kind of big shit, like, yeah, we're coming down there, we got legal proceedings coming, and y'all gonna have to let us in, because these guys sound badass. All like saying,
shut down.
Yeah, like, look at here, Mr. Fancy Pants with your high school diploma and your lattes and your fluoride in your water. I'd like to see one of y'all come down here and try and dig it out, see what happens. They were real cool about that. They were just like, so they can't tamper with anything in there. If you go there, they have a plaque there. You know how you see those historical plaques? They have one right in front of the. Yeah, it's cool.
So
too.
is that like a type of place that's like Roswell based on aliens?
Yeah, I'm sure they have that, but this was
pretty cool.
before. And the thing that's kind of tribute too, because I forgot to mention this, is back in '35, the guy who owned that, he sold it to some guy named, I believe his name was Owen or something like that. Okay, the guy says, "This is a perfect good well," and he knew about what happened. He goes in there and takes all the debris out. And they never say what happens. I tried to look up what happened to the debris.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool to test it. He
used it as a drinking well. That's what it was for.
Yeah.
So when he started drinking from it, he developed severe arthritis. It was like really bad, and he kept blaming the stuff in there.
Damn.
And they said they had like high concentrations of aluminum, which they said was kind of weird. On top of that, they said the sun took over. This was back in '57. I guess there was still stuff in there, so he buried the well. And he put a slab on top of it, and he put a shed on there. That's where the debris is. They think it's still in there because they did another one like in 2008, and they said that there is something in there. They just don't know what. Also, somebody put up a rock, and it has a carving of. They have it anywhere you look. If you look up the Aurora UFO crash, they have the tombstone, and they believe that's where it's at now. But they can't mess with it.
Yeah,
when I read that story, I thought it was
that's pretty cool.
Sorry, fellas, I took up a lot of that time, man.
No, that's a good story. Actually, I hadn't heard that one before.
It was really cool, man. When I heard about it, I was like, because they stuck to their guns. They didn't let these people come out. And good for you, Aurora.
Yeah, right.
I know last week I talked about going...
Squeaky chair.
Yeah, squeaky chair. Somebody, we gotta buy him a new chair.
Yeah, titanium one. I need a titanium one made of a real tree. A whole tree.
Bolted in the ground. Lift.
I'm afraid to move, man. I started cramping up. I was like, oh, I'm good.
Oh my god. Anyways, the last episode I was talking about going to California.
Right.
Well, I think this was the second time I went, and I was still pretty young. This is probably like the year after that. You know what? I think this was before that. Anyways, I was young. We were driving through Arizona, through Phoenix. And the sky, I was looking up and I was like, oh my god. To me, they look like chandeliers hanging from the sky. It was just 3 little lights hanging above the city. And for being so young, I was like, those can't be street lights. Those are too high up. They look like they're just hanging from the sky. Anyways, I didn't think much of it. I just saw it and I was like, that creeped me out. We were passing through it. This is at nighttime, but when we got home, like now that I'm a little bit older and I've been actually watching stuff, I saw the Phoenix lights and I was like, whoa, that looks exactly like what I saw.
Wow. Oh, that's cool, maybe, yeah.
Man, you never know.
I don't know, but that was pretty creepy.
Are you saying those were like flares off of the back of a, you know, like when they fire a missile, I think, that they release the flares. But those were not flares. Those were huge too.
To cover up.
It's got to be something then. One more thing I gotta, guys. Okay, now that we're talking about that, you know how like back in the day you had the stealth bomber and the stealth fighter. Nobody knew about it. Like nobody. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they talked about it, but nobody knew if it was real or not. Eventually, here comes 1988, 89, 87, one of those. It came out late 80s. It was a big deal. So going back to Aurora, Texas, there's supposedly a top secret plane that goes around the Earth in something like 2 hours or something like that. Something real ridiculous. Well, that thing, it's called the Aurora. They were saying the reason it's called the Aurora was because of this story.
Cool.
So anyway, I had to put that out there. Did you know that?
Fun fact.
Yeah, I don't have any UFO stories, but since we were talking about Brownfield a while ago, when we worked up north.
Brownfield, Texas, they have a lot of cotton up there, cotton fields, and it's like 40 miles from Lubbock, Texas, up in the Panhandle. It's a little ass town too, man.
It's tiny, yeah, it's tiny. How we wound up there, I don't even know. Well, I guess we do know.
The lady with the pockets, she's got a collection of pockets. That's her. She's the one who introduced us to.
What did she throw them at? Did you guys just see piles of pockets?
I don't know. You'd figure like the people who own those fields, like, God darn it, I stepped on another shitted pocket, you know, like stuck to a chute. Where the hell are these coming from? I'm gonna go talk to that guy with no damn pockets, you know. Yeah.
Oh my god, y'all didn't even get to use y'all's own pockets.
Yeah,
yeah, really, that's true. They'd take them from us.
That's what it is. They would give us money to go, you know, Mom tried to make it fun, and so she gave us money to go watch whatever it was. And Star Wars had came out like about 4 years before, but it just appeared in Brownfield, right? I was like, hey, Star Wars, you know, like, dude. So, you know, we'd have our money, but We always have it crumpled in our hand. We couldn't put it in our pocket.
That's the truth, man.
But I'm sorry, David, man.
No.
Yeah.
So this is actually the house that we stayed at with like 15, 20 of us in there.
There's a whole mess of us, man.
That's when Andrew and myself, man, we were like bratty kids. I don't know where you were at this time, but
Probably you are taking a shit. There you go, man. Same thing I do now.
But I remember we went to the backyard and we were playing with matches or something too. We were trying to like
burn the
we were
shit
trying to
down.
burn stuff. Honestly, well, we were though. I remember we were trying to burn things, playing with a magnifying glass, trying to burn ants. I mean, seriously, we did all that stuff. There was a shed that was way in the back. And the houses in Texas, you got to remember, there's a lot of space in between houses, especially out in the middle of nowhere like that. So there was nobody that lived near us. The house was pretty much by itself, and the next house over was maybe a good 200 feet away or 300. It was pretty far away. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so we went to the back. We went to this shed. We just sat down, and the wall in back of us, man, I swear, you just hear a baby start crying. It sounded like a newborn baby. And it sounded like it was right in back of us. I mean, not far, down the street. It was like right in back of us. And it was a newborn baby. And we're like, what the hell? And we jumped up, both of us. I was getting ready to jump out. And I stood there for a little bit because I started thinking, wait a minute, there's got to be a logical explanation. I don't know why I was thinking that at the age of like 8 or 9. And I'm thinking there's got to be a logical explanation. So I stood there. Andrew, on the other hand, he jet, man. This guy was a fast runner too. And man, he was like, he looked like Roadrunner because he was real skinny. And he ran about as fast, man. I mean, I swear, like, the blink of an eye, the guy was gone. He disappeared. And I'm like, what the hell? So my body's shaking. I'm getting ready to piss my pants. I was so scared. But I'm walking slowly towards the exit to get out of the shed. And the baby's still crying. And I'm like, oh shit, you know what? There's no explanation. So man, I ran.
Just at the back of it.
Well, about 10 minutes later, not even 10 minutes, it was about 5 minutes later, we were like, hold on, there's got to be something. So we walked back to the shed. We walked around the back, and there was nothing there. No baby crying. We said, you know what? The neighbor does have kids, but they were about our age, or between 8 and 15. There was no babies. But we're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's go ask them. And we were like, hey, did y'all have anybody over maybe or something? Or was there a baby crying? And they're like, no. They didn't even talk English, I don't think. They're like, no baby here. And so they're like, well, whatever. So it was creepy as hell.
That's
like,
crazy, man. Shit.
So do you still remember the address? Maybe because you can see
man.
like people if they've died there.
You know what? We might be able to find it because it was such a small town, and I remember the layout.
Yeah, because in the back, honestly, it looked like if a big ass meteor just hit right behind and left a crater. You see the horned toads also.
Yeah, there were a lot of horned toads. I remember stepping on one time. It didn't hurt, but it's just kind of weird.
But yeah, I remember that.
There was other stuff that happened there that I didn't know about. I think Melissa told me one time, I think some cupboards were opening and closing, they were slamming and stuff like that.
We're talking about like an ugly witch's face. I think it was actually one of the people that we went with, one of the family members. It was one of the older brothers. He kept complaining he would see this ugly woman when he would wake up, and that her face was right by his face. I don't know if you remember that.
Damn, I don't remember that.
Yeah, and that's the same house, man.
That house, I don't know, we had a knack for always getting the haunted houses or something.
It was so cheap. That's what it was. It's just
that's true.
That's what it was.
They're cheap for a reason.
Yeah. And you'll find out.
And we got them real cheap because a lot of times we didn't even turn the electricity or the water on.
Now that we're bringing those up, we got a couple of mom stories also.
Oh, yeah.
And it's from the red apartments that we're talking about. Well, she always saw stuff. Always. She was always telling us some good stories. And I remember this is just something real small and fast. She told me she was asleep. And like I said, hers was the last room. She was laying down in her bed, but she used to sleep with the door open. And Dad was there and everybody. And what happened was, she said she woke up. It was dark. Everything was dark. When she looked by the door, there was this, the way she said it was like a man-child. It was like a huge guy.
Oh, wow.
Like a big guy. Like he was in like coveralls, but that's all he was wearing. But she said the only thing I saw in him is that he had an extremely friendly looking face. And he was just smiling at her and giggling. And he was smiling, and she said, the only thing I can do was smile back. That's how the guy looked. He didn't pose a threat. And she was looking at him, and then she just turned and walked towards the restroom. After the restroom, there's nothing else. She's like, wait a minute. Yeah, she's like, this ain't right. Who was that? She got up. And Mom, man, being brave, because Dad ain't going to get up. She gets up, and she heads straight to the restroom. Like, she's turning on the lights, and she looks. Nothing. She says, I got up as soon as I saw him walk away. It's like, hey, this ain't right. Wait a minute. There's someone in the restroom. and you couldn't get out. There was a little ass window that they had there. I know you remember the window.
Yeah, I remember the window.
But she said the window was shut, and when she walked over there was nothing.
Yeah, if he was a big guy, he wouldn't fit to that window either. It was tiny.
That's a good one that I like from her. I know you got one also.
Yeah, actually, I've got 2 stories from Mom. The first one's really creepy. I don't know if you remember the house that we used to live in. I think, episode 1, episode 2, where we talked about the really haunted house that we used to live in.
Episode 1. Yeah, the mural where the mirror was.
Where the mirror jumped off. Well, this is actually a house that we moved to. I think it was across the street from there or something like that.
Yeah.
We had to carry the furniture.
We
down the street
actually
to the new house.
I remember that, and I remember this one because I remember. Here we go with the squeak. I remember that because I think our dinner table was one of those cable spools where and we were rolling it all cool. Take the table. I remember us having one, and I think
That's pretty sad.
We just spruced it up by like throwing like a tablecloth on it. Yeah, we had like the corn and everything. Oh, it's fine, you know. Well, we never sat at the table anyway. I mean, I think we were like when we did have electricity, we would sit in front of the table or we'd eat outside, whichever one. But I remember that day, man. You know, I don't remember any personal stories there, but Mom, I guess maybe she's
sensitive.
To paranormal things because it just seems like every house that we went to,
you know,
she
that's
saw
true.
something.
If you think about it, we're talking about all these different houses, and do we have the knack for getting haunted houses, or maybe, like you said, maybe it's Mom.
Maybe we're just kind of sensitive about
right.
things of that nature. So that could be a thing.
Actually, I'm sorry, I got confused here. I got 2 stories I was going to tell. The one I was going to tell was actually at that first house, the haunted house that we lived in. But I'm going to go ahead and tell this story since we're talking about this house. It's a quick, short one too. She was in the living room. She was just sitting there reading. She loved to read, and she saw like a cloud of smoke all of a sudden, and she thought it was Dad, and she was kind of pissed off because, damn it, is he smoking again? Because he was supposed to quit smoking. She's like, well, wait a minute, hold on, this thing's starting to take shape, and it started to take a shape like a woman. She's like, whoa, she freaked out, but she got up and she started to follow this thing, and it went into the living room wall, and it just disappeared. This is just a quick, short thing, but it was just really weird.
Man, that's weird, yeah. But that's
smoke.
She just always had those.
Yeah, that was crazy. But let me go back to the other story I was going to tell, the creepier one. And this was at that house that was really, that house was creepy. I believe it was like early in the morning. It was like 6 o'clock or something like that. It was like really, really early in the morning. Her and Dad, they were laying down and they were asleep. She said she felt like tugging, like the blanket was being tugged. And so she's like, whatever. She pulled it up. She didn't think nothing of it. She felt it being tugged again, and she's like, okay, well, hold on. She pulled it back up, and she felt it again. A third time, she felt the blanket being tugged. This time it was getting tugged pretty hard. And she thought maybe it was Dad laying on the other side, because I think she said they were mad. So she thought maybe it was him pulling the blankets down. So she pulled it up again, kind of pissed off, and she felt it again, and this time it yanked really hard. And she looked over, and Dad was, actually, he woke up on that one too, and they just looked at each other like, whoa, what the hell? They pulled the blankets back up, and when they did that, the blanket just got yanked off of them. It got pulled off completely, and it got thrown against a wall. So, I mean, she freaked out. They both freaked out, and they're like, what the hell? They got up and, they left the room, but... but...
Well, you couldn't have the blanket. You needed money.
I know.
I ain't fighting for that damn thing.
I guess the ghost was cold. I don't know. But that was a trip. I mean, that's stuff you see in the movies.
And what the hell was in that house, for real?
Man, I don't know.
Was it a violent ghost, a demon? Was it a poltergeist? Man, I mean, that's weird.
Yeah,
that house
I don't know.
just full of crazy.
It was crazy,
stuff.
and there's a church next door, so it should have been,
That was
a little holier.
But like we went into that church was just definitely weird, man.
It was just as creepy as a house.
Is that the one where you said you saw the people rolling on the ground?
Yeah, that same church.
My dad told me that story a long time ago. You told me that story, and I was like, what the hell?
And not only that,
creepy.
She would call them holy rollers. And and I was like, well, why do they roll?
What religion was it? Like, what?
I have no idea. I don't know. Snake handlers. I don't know. And I promise, I'm not disrespecting anybody's religion. I mean, if that's what you believe in, hey, more power to you. I had never seen that before, and I guess maybe, like you said, us being bratty and nosy, that we should kind of respected people. That's probably why they looked at us ugly, man. Like,
I know.
Yeah, we're trying to roll, fellas. Come on, man. Have some respect.
That's probably all it was. They were just pissed off at us. We're bratty kids.
That's mom for you, typical mom story. Man, that was a good one, David. Man, I remember that one.
You don't think, like, I don't know, like, I'm starting to think, like, maybe something was following Grandma?
It could have been. Remember, like I said back in the day, we brought this one up also with the witch who threw up the hair.
Yeah.
Maybe she put a curse on
Yeah.
them. She may be even seeing things to this day. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, I wonder.
Things are following her, so we got to talk with her and ask her about that. I don't know if she really wants to get into that anymore,
Yeah,
but
I don't think she would. But man, if she would, good God, we'd have a lot of
oh
stories.
yeah, I'm sure, man.
A lot of great stories.
We don't need it. We do need y'all's. I shouldn't have said that. We do need. To have y'all's call in to tell y'all a story. Again, our number is 210-901-8666, and we'd love to hear from y'all fellas. This is just one of those things where it was a request, but me and Dave and Jazz always enjoy hearing other people's stories.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear other people's experiences.
Yeah.
Like, it creeps me out, like the way people tell them. And
Yeah, that's true.
Go. Yeah.
And exactly. If you don't want to call in, you're shy, Dave. What is that?
Yeah, email us info@rigormortisparanormal.com or just visit us online. Pop another cool one, Rob. That's all right. Yeah, there's a lot of alcohol that goes into the making of these.
I didn't think that was gonna go. I tried to do it. Have you ever tried to eat a chip quietly? That's what I was trying to do.
Impossible.
So sorry, man.
Oh no. Hey, that's all right.
What was that information again?
Or you can visit us online at www.rigormortisparanormal.com and maybe donate some beer money to us or something.
Or chair money, man.
Or chair. Or WD-40 even.
Go, man.
A quick story while we're on the topic of alcohol.
Beer?
Well, because this Saturday we were at the house drinking, and we invited a couple of people over, and there was this girl. She was pretty young. I'm not gonna say her name. I asked her. I was like, "Hey, you have any stories?" And she was like, "Well, I don't think much of it, but one time I was in the house and I heard my mom's drawer close," and she was like, "It's a familiar sound to me because my mom's had that drawer since I can remember. So I remember the sound that the drawer makes when it closes." And she was like, "There's nobody in the house with me, and I know it was the drawer for sure. Like, it just slammed shut." She was like, "But I try not to think too much of it because my brother passed away a while back, so I always think it's just him. Like, if I hear a sound," I was like, that's pretty cool to have that, feel like you're always being protected or watched. But at the same time, I was like, don't invite nothing in because you never know. They can be posing or acting.
Could be a poser.
Yeah.
Is that what she believes it is, her brother?
She believes in her brother. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Maybe just checking up on her, seeing how. That's great. And that's something too, because it's of a loved one. I'm sure they loved each other very much. Mm-hmm. And it's like we were talking about the last time when you have these, either they're saying hello or goodbye.
The
or,
grandfathers.
So that's kind of
It's just further evidence maybe that somebody
afterlife. There's something that happens after.
Exactly.
I have another quick story. Real quick.
Bring it on.
So, my grandma from my mom's side, dad. Anyways, you're gonna edit that out.
That's alright.
I feel like maybe people don't know what's going on.
Okay, hold on.
So
Time out. Yeah, we gotta clear this up, man. Jasmine is my daughter.
And Jasmine is my niece.
I don't know what's going on.
And we share the same grandma.
It's really weird.
But that's where we're gonna go with that, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Are they incestuous? What's wrong with that family? No, it's not that. But I should have explained that a long time ago, man. I'm sorry, but
I don't
anyway.
think it's that important, but when I'm talking, that's how I talk, like grandma or mom, and I'm like, oh wait, and I'm trying to backtrack. I don't know. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My grandma had I don't know, I feel like it was pretty haunted because we would always go visit her and people would always tell me stories. Like, my aunt was living with her for a while and they would say they would hear, like, dolls going off with no batteries or something. It's just weird stuff like that. That was actually the house my great-grandpa passed away in. And, I was in my uncle's room. My uncle at the time was still living with my grandma. So I was in his room looking for something, but all the lights were off and the door was shut. And I was like, oh shit, which way is the door? I was just trying to get out and I was young and I was panicking. Like, I was scared of the dark. I don't know who,
Running in circles.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Which way did they come in? But out of nowhere, I just feel like something just grabbed my shirt and yanked my whole shirt into the direction of the door. So that was really creepy. I couldn't see, like, if my shirt was being tugged, it was dark, but I felt it, like my shirt come off my body and being tugged in the direction of the door.
Maybe they were trying to direct you to the exit. Maybe they were helping you.
I think that's kind of cool. I know it's creepy, but you found the doorway. Yeah.
I didn't feel anything like malicious. It was just creepy being so young in the
and
dark.
that would scare the hell out of anybody.
No kidding.
But there's a lot of other stories from that house, but we'll save that for another time.
You know what? It's weird. I got one from Pop. He really never talked about stuff like that. I mean, really, he didn't. I remember being older too. I was probably like about 18 or 19. He told me, he said, I was at his mom's house, my grandmother's house, And she had passed away something like 5 or 6 years before. Anyway, I remember him coming in. I think they just came in from like a party or something like that. I remember everybody for some reason had walked out of the kitchen, and Dad was the only one at the table. He was sitting there, and when I came back, he was like picking up the chair and getting up off the ground. I'm like, is he drunk or what? And he looked at me, and he goes, I was sitting here, and the table pushed into my chest, and it threw me on the ground.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what? And he goes, I know it sounds weird, man, but it really did. Dad looked scared. That's what tripped me out. Because Dad really did look scared. He's like, yeah, I know it doesn't sound right, but something pushed me. Something pushed the table against my chest and threw me on the ground. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
You know?
I know. Yeah, what do you say to that?
I feel like Grandpa's like a big, how do you say that word?
A skeptic, yeah.
Skeptic,
That's what I
yeah,
got too, but like, it was weird because
And
he was
that
trying to
he's-
explain
yeah.
that to me. And like, you know, it's weird too, because I'm thinking the same thing, because he really never talked about that, and like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, you don't hear much stories from him.
He really genuinely did look scared. Like, you
That's
know,
what I'm
like,
saying. Like for him to talk about it. Like,
yeah, I was like, maybe he fell over because he was that fucked up, but
he felt something
was
happened.
saying,
Yeah.
no, like, I'm serious. The table, it pushed me over, and I'm like, that house, I was staying there. I was about, man, the same age. I remember everybody moved out, and I had a job for a little bit, and I was staying there by myself. Well, I lost my job, and I remember, man, I was feeling kind of scared and worried because I lost my job. I didn't have no money. I remember them coming and shutting off the water. Here we go again, no water, man. And yeah, you should have seen the toilet, man. Catfish farm, man, big time, man. So yeah, I just turn on the hose and old school, man, just fill up them gallon jugs and just get splashed. So anyway, it was almost like a wake up call. When I was there, and here we go, it's another voice. I did hear another voice, and I really don't talk about this too much because this one really it scared the shit out of me at first. But I think of it almost as a wake-up call. I was laying on the bed, and I had a fan on me, and I kept thinking about it, like, man, what am I going to do? It's not that nobody would have took me in. I just didn't want to bother anybody. I felt like, oh, stupid. And what happened was, I was laying on that bed, and I remember getting so depressed and scared. All of a sudden, I just heard Robert, like that, just like that. Not the laughter. The other one was more like a Robert. That scared me.
A whisper.
But this one, I heard it crystal clear. I mean, I got my ass up and I was like, who the fuck was that? And I walked outside just fast. I mean, I didn't want to look back or nothing. And I remember hitting the light on when I left. I sat outside for like 20 minutes, man, scared to go back in. But it was hot, man. I remember it being hot outside. So I was like, man, I don't want to go back inside, man. I don't know what that was. So I came back inside and I fell asleep. Long story short, man, I wound up going to move in with Mom, and everybody was all cool. But to me, that was almost like a wake-up call, like, you need to do something with your life. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I can't say, Jazz. I don't know what that was. Everything kind of worked out afterwards, but man, that scared the shit out of me.
Man, I never heard that story, Rob.
No, that one was one of, and really, I know everybody's like, yeah, you probably just made that shit up. No, I didn't. Here we go, squeaky chair. But it actually almost scared me a little bit more than the first time I had my name called.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, that was a crazy story, man.
Yeah,
That's
it was
pretty cool.
Scary.
The one that I've got about Dad, this was another one when we were teenagers. I guess it was a little bit before that time that you're talking about, because you said you were, what, like 18 at that time?
Yeah, probably about 18, 19, around there.
Here, we were, I'd say, I was probably about 13, so you must have been about 14.
Yeah.
It was a house that we lived on that was way on the southwest side. It was kind of deep outside of 410. It was
the Gaylord.
Yeah, Gaylord.
Yeah, we lived on Gaylord Street.
I was trying not to say the name, but...
yeah, you should have seen Chaz. They would ask us, and your address? 15, 14. I'm sorry? 15, 14. I can't hear what you're saying. He said Gaylord. I did not.
Announcing it on the PA. He said he lives on Gaylord Street.
I remember it was hard for me to say. And it was, I mean, hey, nothing about it was just back in the day,
Well, you're young.
At that age, I mean, that's the age, we're at the age we're trying to be cool already, and, and now, we got to tell people we live on Gaylord Street.
Spicewood, I remember that.
It's a Spicewood neighborhood.
So much fun back then, man.
Anyway, it was at night, and Dad said he heard somebody walking, and he came out of the room, and he went all the way down the end of the hall. I don't know if you remember, like, it was a long hallway from the living room to the rooms, the actual rooms. Yeah. And he was in the living room, but he looked back to the end of the hall, and he said, man, somebody walked from one room to the other, so they walked across the hall. He said he thought it was a person, but it was just black. It was a black mask. So he's like, man, it wasn't a person. I can tell it wasn't because it was just like a solid black mask that went across. And it walked across slowly. He said he was scared shitless. But he went into our room. He walked into our room where we were asleep. Anyway, there was nothing there. Looked around and he was scared. He didn't wake us up. I guess I'm glad he didn't.
And that's weird because that house was fairly new. We were like the first occupants in that house.
We were the very first people living there.
Yeah, maybe there was something out there in the land or something. Yeah,
it was a lot of wooded area, remember? I mean,
yeah, that was, man, we had a lot of fun back then. We would have little fires back then, Jazz, and we would have like little parties. Man, we were young too, man. Like, like 15, 16. Or not even party, but we would be drinking, man. I'm not lying. And we'd have this big fire and stuff like that. I remember my mom had this green thumb. I mean, that woman, she can grow anything, man, and it would grow like anywhere, man. It would grow, and she had this knack. So,
oh man, I know where you're going with this, Rob.
She had these.
Oh no, he's gonna air some dirty laundry here.
Well, yeah, hopefully they're not listening, man.
I know. Yeah, hope Mom cover your ears.
Well, Mom knew about it.
Oh, she did. Never mind.
Well, okay, Mom was growing cilantro in the back, and that's cilantro for y'all who don't know what I'm talking about. She had bushels of it back then. I mean, like big, and nobody ever did anything with it, and they were healthy. I mean, like really healthy. That's the stuff you see at the stores of produce. I mean, it was just really good. So we were drinking back there, and my stupid ass, instead of walking my lazy ass inside to go pee, what do? I go right up against the wall, just relieve myself. I mean, and it's one of those long pees, man. Like you're just like, oh, you know, and just like
to the wall.
And I did hear Dave saying, Rob, you're peeing on Mom's plants. Huh? And I just watered the hell out of all of them. It was weird because I remember being asleep and kind of crudo, a little hungover, and I can hear Grandma talking. Mom was talking. She's like, "Oh yeah, the lady down the street. I was gonna give them to her for free, but she paid me $4 for all of them." And I was like, and I was listening. What's Mom talking about? She's like, "I gave her all the cilantro in the back." And I was like, my eyes open. I was like, "Oh, dude." I remember I watered them last night.
Oh man.
I got up. I told Mom. I was like, "Mom." I peed on the cilantro. She's like, what?
Yeah.
I peed on the cilantro. Why? Why would you pee on the cilantro? I was like, I wasn't doing it until I had to pee. And she's like, well, why don't you bring her outside? And she's like, you know those people over there putting in their menudo right now as we talk. And then I was like, I'm sorry, man. Maybe she's like, I'm not telling them shit. They just paid me already. It was like $8 or something like that, right? Man, I'm not kidding, man. Like 2 hours later, man, the lady's coming with this big ass Tupperware bowl of menudo. And what's sprinkled on top, man?
Cilantro aplenty.
And she's like, Señora, este es para tu esposo y tu familia. And I was like, you know, she's like, okay, thank you very much. And man, I remember Mom looking at me like, you little son of a bitch, man. She just took it from the front door to the, remember the side door?
Yeah.
And just chucked it out there. And I remember, man, going to bed early because she told Dad, man, she's like, man, you could have had some good menudo, but Rob peed on the cilantro. Huh? What does that have to do with it? I think he even kind of laughed because he didn't really get off to it. But anyway, what does that have to do with ghosts? Because you got the ghost of my pee right there. That's terrible, man. But anyway, there were some high times back then, man.
We got a lot of stories like that too, but those it'd be for a different type of podcast.
So the next time you fellas are eating y'all's cilantro with you, just think of that.
Watch where you get it from.
He was digging it too, man. Oh, señora, you have a green thumb. She's just looking at me like pendejo.
Man, that's messed up. I got one more story actually. I'd like to share.
I'm sorry, fellas. I just got off topic.
No, that's cool, man. I always like hearing those crazy things that we did back in the day, man. This one actually goes back to the 70s when we were kids. Somebody gave us a phone number. I don't know where we got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
crazy. Jazz, this is crazy. I'm sorry, David.
No, that's cool.
This is a crazy story, man. It really is.
Back then, there's no caller ID, no cell phones.
Just landlines. That's it. Just
landlines.
landlines.
Yeah,
landlines. The
landlines.
thing about that is really, I mean, here we go. Old guy sticking up for. How many drop calls did you have?
Yeah, right.
The only time you had a drop call was when somebody was pissed off at you.
And hung up on you. Yeah,
that's
like
true.
kids now don't even know how to use landlines.
Yeah.
They don't even know what a landline is.
Yeah, especially the rotary ones. Oh, this thing's got a circle. I mean,
How do you text?
Yeah. How do you text from this thing?
That's Morse code. I'm sorry, dude.
But anyway, so man, we were notorious for playing with the phone. I remember ordering pizzas. I know.
Big guy.
I know.
It was It's like, this is the corniest thing in the world. He calls, what was it? It was pizza.
Pizza Hut, I think,
and he's like, let me have a supreme pizza, and let me have a pepperoni pizza with, get this, whipped cream. And we looked at him.
He starts laughing.
He's laughing by himself.
Yeah.
He hangs up his cheers. Oh, that was good. I'm like, what did you say? Get this?
Get this whipped cream. What the hell?
Anyway, man, I'm sorry, David.
No. Do you remember another phone call that you did? I'm sorry, man. We're going way off topic.
Oh,
the
man.
fire department?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I'm laughing about it because the guy comes out. Oh man, he comes out.
What did you tell him?
I got it was
Hey, you changed your voice pretty good, man, too.
You guys don't know what a payphone is, I'm sure. They don't have them anymore, but there was a payphone. I don't know what possessed me. I got off my bike. It was in the red apartments. Ours was 1702.
Yeah.
And so it was like 1714 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I called in, can you send, I'm not going to use the name of the street. Can you send, the way I did it, I was like, yeah, I was passing by and
Yeah,
I
the
done
country
seen
voice.
some fire and some smoke coming out the window. And they're like, what's your, do you know what? I don't think the bitch believed me because she said, did you say the window? And I said, yes, ma'am, I did. You know, like, and I was knocking on the door, but I can't get no one to wake up. And it's at like 1714 Main Street. That's not the name. And they're like, okay, we'll have fire rescue out there. Man, I'm sitting there just watching my handiwork. And man, this little dude, it was a Chicano Porewato, man. He was trying to go to sleep for work or something, man. He comes out and, no, like, he was like,
Man, about 2 minutes after you hung up, man, you see like 8 fire trucks rolling up, and like on the freeway.
Was, like, looking, he's like, he's some more. Yeah, they were rolling up like, man, what possessed us to do that, man? Mom and dad probably gonna get pissed if they hear this. Now we have the internet, so it's okay, man.
Yeah.
You know, but back then that was our internet.
Yeah, that's how we
your
kept
entertainment?
occupied.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's weird because I'm just standing there watching that guy, and he's coming out in his socks and his long ass shorts, but with no shirt. And no, you know I'm blue. Like, he didn't call, and I'm like, and I'm laughing at this guy, man. I'm like, that's fucking sucks.
That
man.
was crazy, man.
Man, that was terrible, man. I'm sorry, Mister, for that.
Well, going into the story, back then, I guess what I was trying to get to is that we always played with the phone because you can do it, and you know now I guess it's not
be
as
traced
easy.
back to you.
Yeah.
Star 69. They didn't have that shit back then. Yeah.
Yeah, none of that. But anyway, so somebody gave us this number. I don't know where we got it from, but they're like, yeah, call it. There's a lady, have you talked to her? She just says the same thing over and over. So we dial the number, and you just hear a lady, doesn't sound mentally ill, doesn't sound old. She probably sounds like she's in her 20s or something, but picks up the phone. All she says is, my name is Marianne O'Neill. Don't come over and don't call back. And we're like, okay.
Remember Steve started copying
He started
her?
doing it?
My brother Steven. My name is Marianne O'Neill. Don't come over, don't call back. My name is Marianne. So
Yeah.
we thought it was a recording, but she started stumbling on her words. And we're like, oh, this bitch is live. She's actually spending her nights telling people not. I was like, it was just.
Oh, so that's how she answers her phone?
She
That's
just answered.
it. You know,
That's why
like
she
that,
answered.
you know, like it was creepy, man. And it's weird because I actually looked that up, trying to find
I have
something
too.
on it, and I
Yeah.
can't find anything on that.
There's nothing on it. And it's weird because that's all she would say. And if you would talk faster, she'd say it faster with you. My name is Marianne O'Neill. Don't come over, don't call back. That's all it was. What it was about, whether she was sick or not, I don't know. But we did this for several months until we just got tired of it, I guess.
And you know, it's true because every time that we did call, she would answer.
Same way?
Yeah, and
same
then,
way.
like you'd have a busy signal, but that was somebody else who knew her number that was fucking with her. That was crazy because that was like, I want to say 79, 80 around there.
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably a little earlier. I don't think it was 80 yet.
Okay, yeah, you might be right. I know it was late 70s, but I had a buddy of mine that told me, hey, if you call this number, you're gonna hear the devil laughing. It's a devil laughing. It's his phone number. And I was like, nah. He's like, what are you talking about? And so I start dialing it. I get on the phone and I'm listening, and I get scared. I almost shit, man, because I heard. It was a fucking fax, but back then I didn't know what the fuck it was. I thought, oh shit, he's talking. Hang it up. You know, I got scared, man. I'll never call that number back, man. But I couldn't stop. Like when I was like, oh, that's fucking fax.
That's crazy, man. You know, back then we didn't know what a fax was.
We did it, man. But the Marianne O'Neill was crazy, and I don't know if that's like, maybe something haunting or just a disturbed woman.
I wish I wish I knew what it was about. I mean,
yeah, because it's weird too, because like then you can't really like trace a number back to like an address or anything, so don't come over, like.
Yeah, don't come over and don't call back.
So that was creepy. We would have to huddle by the phone to hear out of the receiver what she's saying because we didn't have no speaker on. But yeah, you know what though, that brought back a lot of memories. We love saying these stories again, our personal stories. I love this. This is something I know me, you, and Jasmine. I know you're enjoying this also. But to be honest, we would really love to hear y'all's stories. That's something we would really look forward to. Again, our number is 210-901-8666.
And if you don't want to talk on the phone, feel free to email us, info@rigormortisparanormal.com. However you get in touch with us, just please do, because we want to hear your stories. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, definitely. This was fun. I really enjoyed it.
We've had a
and
great
I'm
time.
sure we'll have another one of our personal stories. But again, please keep those stories coming.
Thank you guys for letting us share our stories with you guys.
They really enjoyed it. It was very fun. Took a trip down memory lane, Dave, and shared some new ones with Jazzy. Hopefully we can have another show like this in the future, but we really want to hear y'all's stories. So also, Dave, we have a new night.
Yeah, that's right. We kind of switched things up a little bit. It just kind of works better for us with editing and doing the music and all that. Thursdays. So we're going to be switching from Tuesdays to Thursdays. So keep an eye out on Thursdays and be sure to visit us and listen in. We'd love to hear your stories.
Thank y'all so much. Until next week, we'll see y'all. Peace.
Peace out.